Secretary General, welcome to the program.
It's a great pleasure to see you. Thank you.
10 years you've been in this office now. The first ever Secretary General told his successor, "Welcome to the most impossible job in the world." Do you agree?
I agree, but you may remember what I said at the beginning of my term. I will make this job mission impossible, mission possible. It has been a great privilege and honor for me to serve this great organization, but it has been quite tough.
What would you say has been the very toughest? I mean, let's dive right in. Syria is perhaps, could it be what you become best known for, what the world becomes best known for, the failure to deal with this terrible war right now?
It's really heartbreaking, and it's very regrettable that we still see so many people, children and women are dying needlessly because of the lack of political leadership and vision and humanity by the leaders of Syria. Then this may be recorded as one of the failures of the United Nations, but it is sort of a collective failure.
If you could sum up, how will history judge the political leaders who make up this United Nations for the failure in Syria?
I'm afraid to say that they will judge the political leaders they failed.
We're talking, as you end your term, a new American president will take office in the White House. There is a lot of uncertainty about how he views America's role in the world. Have you spoken to him yet? And do you have a sense of how he views American leadership continuing forward?
I had a good telephone talks with President-elect Donald Trump just 3 days after his election, and I have explained all the major issues of the United Nations. United States and United Nations share same goals and ideas enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. United States is one of the most important founding members of the United Nations. Therefore, United States leadership working together with the United Nations is crucially important. I'm confident that the President-elect Donald Trump will all be fully engaged with the United Nations.
Well, you say that, but there's obviously looming clashes ahead, most notably on one of your signature achievements and your pride and joy, and that is the eventual signing in Paris of the climate accords, which have come into effect. You've heard what Donald Trump has said, that, you know, climate change is a hoax, that he would want to, you know, extract America from its obligations under the treaty. Tell me how you feel, and you've just come back from a major conference on climate in Marrakesh.
We have heard a lot of things have been talked, whether it is constructive or not constructive during the electoral process. Having said that, now that election is over, he is now elected as future president of the United States. As you said, I'm just back from Marrakesh, a very important meeting. We discussed a lot. What would be the implications of a new U.S. administration on climate change? Without any exception, including United States, there is a wholehearted support that this climate change agreement, which was done with the wholehearted support of whole international community, must be preserved, must be implemented. Now, it's not only the government, the people on the ground, the civil society, they demand it. And also business communities, they demand it.
Are you convinced that the other big powers will stay involved and will continue to respect the accord, even if the U.S. sort of steps back?
I am more than confident that the whole world will be on board and will fully implement this climate change agreement. I hope I will discuss this matter with Donald Trump in the near future. The science has made it plainly clear through their 5 successive assessment reports during the last 20 years that climate change is happening and much faster than we may expect.
Another area of clash between the new U.S. administration and the United Nations could be the Iran deal. President-elect Trump has called it the worst deal ever, and obviously there are people urging him to try to renegotiate or pull out.
Objectively speaking, as a Secretary General, who has been really working hard to help Iranian nuclear development issues resolved, I believe that this agreement done by P5+1, Germany, that was a robust agreement. That means we have to respect this agreement. Then I've been discussing this matter with Iranian authorities, and they are also concerned that having agreed to this agreement, if there is any changes or any disruptive processes of this agreement, then it will take a much longer time. During that time, who knows what will happen again. Then I'm urging the world leaders to be committed to this agreement.
If the UN distinguish itself in anything, it is in the caring for refugees. It is an international obligation to care for war refugees. And we have seen over the last several years this rise of hatred towards refugees. We've seen refugees and migrants being demonized in political campaigns in Europe and the United States. It's the worst time in the world for refugees right now. Where do you see that going? And that could again be another clash between the new U.S. administration and the United Nations.
We have more than 65 million people who are dispersed internally and refugees. It's the highest number of refugees and displaced persons since the end of Second World War. It requires a strong commitment for humanity and respect all refugees as a human being with a full dignity. We have to reject xenophobia, discrimination, whatsoever. They are same human beings. They are most vulnerable group of people. We have to protect their human rights and human dignity. That's a basic principle. And I appreciate President Obama, who has also taken initiative by convening summit meeting on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly on September 20th, where I participated with European Union and United States and United Nations working together. I think we can solve this problem.
One of the things that has been achieved here since you've been Secretary General is enshrining respect for LGBT rights, all sorts of sexual orientations rights. I heard a story about how you came to this issue, that you were petitioned by human rights groups, and you told them, look, I'm a middle-aged Asian man. This is uncomfortable for me. Tell me then how you came to actually speaking about it in a speech and now enshrining those rights in the United Nations.
As you said, and as you know, I have been raised in a very conservative society in Korea. And most of the Asian countries have been influenced Confucianism and very conservative. Now, having become Secretary General of the United Nations, whose charter takes human rights and human dignity as one of the most important pillars with the security and the peace and development. This LGBT, whatever sexual orientation one may have, they are same human being. Their human rights and human dignity and social, political, and economic opportunity should be respected as equally as other people. That's a simple fact. Simple fact. Some people regard me as, how come you have changed? But it's not that I have changed. I am strongly committed to this human rights principle.